Good morning, and welcome back. It's Who Am I? Or, as I have been calling it to myself lately, is it's turning more into the Who Am I project. Because it just involves so much when you ask this question, and when you ask it and leave the answer not unanswered, but open. Who am I? So that the answer can change, you know, depending on who you want to be at any given moment, or how you're seeing things. You aren't locked into I am playing this role in this time, and that's just all there is to it. Who am I? It's a great question. And we have some answers, and we have thoughts about it too. I've been thinking this morning, for the amount of time that I have been thinking, because I haven't been up all that long. It's very early. But I've been thinking this morning about taking your life impersonally. There is a great deal of information to be had if you would take a vantage point upon your own life that is both panned out so that you can see its context, and impersonal so that you aren't blaming yourself or others. You're just looking at it. Pretend like humanity is a different species to you, and you would have the ability to just look at it and. But it's more than that, because you're not just looking at us from the outside as though you were studying us from another species point of view. You are looking at yourself from the inside and how all of your mechanizations work. For instance, I talk all the time, incessantly, as a matter of fact, about this binary being that we are, this system of perception and motorization and relationship and how am I thinking about who we are as human beings, as biotechnology. How does my biotechnology work? And I'm always talking about us being a binary system. You have an inner being. It's vibrational. Turns out, overall, you actually are vibrational too. Even your physical body actually is vibrational, but it's more coherent vibration, spinning in vortices of what we call elements of matter, carbon and hydrogen, oxygen, all the things that you're made of, tiny smattering of rare minerals and anyway, so that's what you are. And if on an experiential, matter-of-fact, day-to-day level, you start assuming that that's true, and not just from a psychological standpoint, no, that's not the right word, philosophical standpoint, but in actual truth, start knowing who you really are. That we are more than what we think we are. Quit judging yourself and each other so harshly. Yes, it's true that perhaps you in this moment are behaving in a way that even you don't ultimately want to stay in. That this is not the harmonics of a sustainable rhythm. So, but you're doing it because you don't understand yourself. So you can grant that maybe certain current aspects of your life would be lovely to change them. So you aren't happy with where you are. You aren't happy with how you are being. You aren't happy with things but in spite of that, don't be so harsh on yourself, because in a sense, everything is absolutely perfect. Everything is working absolutely perfectly. The whole idea is we have to get a better handle on an understanding of the system that we are sitting in the middle of. And part of what's getting in your way is you keep taking it personally and jacking your emotions into stuff that you have no business doing. Just make it go flat. There is a place. There is a place where you put all information. And it goes I call it the place where everything goes. And it's what you do with anything. Experience, information, just anything that comes to you that you don't know what to do with because it doesn't fit the paradigm that you had decided what's real, what's going on, what's the human interpretation of the meaning of this moment. However it is you're defining it, through the lens of your religion or your philosophy or your unconsciously acquired osmosis by being within the culture itself. What is it? What is constricting how you are interpreting the world? Well, you got emotions going all over the place, judging things. This is good, this is bad, like this, don't like that. That's all fair. You don't have to like rape, war, murder, pillage, pedophilia. And it's not even just the notion of older creatures in a society having sexual relations with younger ones. It's more the spirit of exploitation, the spirit of disregarding the wholeness of the being that you are predating upon. That's the problem with that. And then it gets all gobbed up in our uptightness about sexuality and everything. It just turns into, that screeching nightmare of whatever. That's what happens all across the board. And if we really want to understand the meaning of the world that you are in, you have to have a place where all the information goes. All information. You can't leave anything out. I call this concept addition consciousness. It's a pet idea of mine. I have another pet idea. I call it divine autonomy. And it relates to this idea. So we are inseparably one. If you ever listen to this program, you know that that's ultimately where I get every time. We are inseparably one, but it's not a one that we have. We are inseparably one. You couldn't separate the field if you tried. There is no way that you are going to make us not one. And so we don't have to try so hard to be one. It's a we society, stronger together. Let's all do this together. That spirit, for a moment, and depending on what the project is, that's delightful. That's amazing. But the fact is lockstep and groupthink is actually not the aim. The aim is to have everyone, every being, every individual biological unit, as well as, for sure, if you're going to be operating as a whole biological unit, like say you are a hive, and you have a hive mind. There's a wholeness about your group, and it's very locked in with all of the creatures within it. Well, then the mission statement at the overriding position of that greater being had better be in alignment with Source. So if we're going to act like a hive, we better be connected to Source. Because if we aren't connected to Source, then you turn into nightmare scenarios imagined by such things as the Borg. This mindless, not connected to the rhythms of the wholeness of the universal being that we all are. We are not just cruising around in our spaceships in empty space, conducting our little territorialities and wars. Right now we're doing it amongst the nations of the world, and eventually the vision of the future is we're going to be, stomping out our territory out there in outer space. just like we do on Earth. Well, that's not actually what's going to happen, because it turns out the ticket to get to the really good ways of communicating with the rest of the world, the universes, and the really good way to travel is way more esoteric than we've been thinking. If you really want to get around, you got to really understand how it is designed. And it just doesn't involve that kind. That's human thinking. And that's human thinking caused by two minds that we possess, both vibrational. One, the mind of your vibrational self. The other one is the vibrational mind of your conventional self. It's your physical mind. It's the one that you are more familiar with. When you say, I'm conscious of this, that's actually the one you're usually talking about. It's only if you are clicking into the other one, then you are also already clicking into your physical one. I mean, you got it going on if you're already consciously aware of what your larger self is. When I'm consciously aware of what my greater mind is doing, the consciously I'm referring to is that of my physical mind. But both minds are vibrational. Both minds are vibrational. And when you take a thought in your conventional mind that has that's a lesser thought, that has all of our thoughts are running on frequencies. Every thought has a frequency. Every different thought has a different frequency. It's all frequencies. It's all different frequencies. And yet they're all the coherence of this plasma of the universe, this quantum ether spinning, cohering. So you got this overall picture, which is the whole thing, which we're all a part of that, by the way, fractally, and then I don't know if you have to go farther than that. I don't know how literally we are actually, but I could really get esoteric about this. It's all spin. It is all spin, and I believe that somehow I feel it in my heart, and I imagine it. And when I imagine, if you can imagine it, then there's something to it. Now, how your physical mind is interpreting this imaginal download that you're getting from your higher self, because that's what your imagination is. You have tapped into a current, a download, a feed from your higher self. So you are these two minds, and when small you takes a smaller thought, I hate my neighbors, or anything, I hate myself, my children are bad, I am bad, they are bad, look how bad we are being. And I'm not arguing about whether or not we are being bad even, because we are. Or naughty would probably be a better way to put it, because naughty infers undesirable behavior in a beloved being, like your child, you naughty child. You're not saying you're a bad child, you're saying you're being naughty. And that's a different spirit. It's all spirits. These spirits are meanings. What's the true meaning of things? Who are you? Who am I? That's the question, right? Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What does it all mean? What's the meaning of everything that I see around me? What I'm doing in this forum, the Who Am I project, is I am fostering my own ability to walk into a certain place in my own consciousness and flesh it out and speak it out loud, so that it's not just me that can hear it. I've been hearing this voice in my head for the longest time, and sometimes she has the greatest ideas, and I would love to be able to set them to words. I wanted to be able to write them down, but I'm having a hard time with the written word. So I'm doing it a different way. I'm going to the spoken word, which makes it different because now you have to do it conversationally because nobody wants to just hear you spit out a book out of context. How could you even do that? And so through this forum, I go in and I talk about my favorite ideas with absolutely no resistance. I'm speaking to someone like I'm imagining, you are my good friend. And I am really excited about this idea that I have been getting about how cool the world is and how cool we are. And I want to tell you all about it. But if I had a real person in front of me and I tried to do this, it wouldn't be long into the narrative. It wouldn't be but 2 or 3 minutes before they would start pointing out to me all of the many, many reasons on the physical ground, why what I'm talking about isn't possible because of what is happening in this moment. What we have is getting in the way of what we want. Overly noticing what you have is indeed getting in the way of what we want because we're not understanding how our focus and our attention is kind of like, I've been thinking about it this way for the last couple of years actually, that our focus and our attention is the literal currency of the universe. If you think about it that way, actually, can you even do it that way? Or do you just live it a different way and then you look back and you go, oh, look at how what I focused on, what I put my attention on, and what I focused on actually got bigger, wherever it was, whatever it was. So what are you putting your focus on? And the more important thing is, what spirit are you putting your focus on? Because whatever the materiality, whatever it looks like in image, what frequency you are on as you are looking at it is way more important. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is how I see it. I really don't care how it turns out. I don't give a flipping darn how the movie ends, as long as it's really moving and in the end it's an epic good ending. Something really, really meaningful happened, or it's a really good, satisfying ending. Or I don't care how the party goes as long as everybody has a good time and I'm laughing, a lot, and I'm feeling good about my surroundings. It's that kind of thing. Who cares what the physical specifics of things are, as long as the spirit of them feels in a particular way. And actually, the spirit of things is incredibly important. There's that writings from that guy after World War II, that German guy. Was he a shoemaker? What the heck was he? He wasn't a shoemaker. So he talked about this, looking around his country as Germany descended into madness. Now, I often laughingly joke about this show being my documenting my own descent into madness. But in this case, he's really talking about the real thing. And he takes note that at one point in the how it was going down, when you looked around, all the forms still looked exactly the same. But the spirit was different. The spirit had shifted into this dark, everybody's suspicious of everybody, and everybody's mean to everybody, and you're ratting on your neighbor because you don't want the secret police to come and drag you off to the SS headquarters and, interrogate you or whatever. It was a terrible, dreadful, dreadful time. We really need to understand the psychology of how this happened. Now, I remember when I was younger, I had a specific experience of how I was inputting the knowledge about the Holocaust and Nazis and World War II and what the meaning of any of it was. Where was the good, the bad, and the ugly? Where were the spirits off on our side too? Because you can see the same. Actually, this would take too many words. I can't shift subjects here. But boy, I could say something about something right here. So, originally when I was so fascinated with the concept of Nazis and morbidly fascinated by the litany, the horrors of what they did to one another, to other people. Just amazing. Now, I understand that if you actually peer into the dark spirits of any, there's been many genocides, there's been many holocausts of different sorts. I studied also, morbidly fascinated with the story of Idi Amin and his rise to power, and then what the State Research Bureau, what that little structure of implementation of control, what that was. Very bloody and horrible, and your mind just goes to the how, what the hell is going on? How is this possible? What is happening? Originally, I was able to input vast amounts of information about it because I did not feel bad about it because I hadn't done it. We hadn't done it. It was Germans. We were on the Allied side. We were the ones saying, hey, let's don't do this. And going to great expense and care to assemble an army to go up against him and stop that. But then I became more mature, and I realized that, it may have been Germans that did that, but it was still people that did that. This is a human being phenomenon of some sort. This is something that human beings do. And I'm convinced that we do it because we don't understand how the mechanism works. We're not completely understanding what is causing the demons to erupt around us. And then our fellow human beings pick up this field energy, this demon, I'm calling it, because it's a negative energy form. I also call it Shiva energy. They pick it up, they wield it, we blame the messenger instead of the spirit, and we don't understand our own hand in the creation of that spirit. That's part of what I'm trying to illuminate and elucidate in this program. Who am I? Who am I? We are this binary set of minds, both vibrational, but one is the mind of your purely vibrational self. And the other one is the vibrational mind of your conventional self, which is also vibrational, but a different density of vibration. The coherence of matter is a different density than the Planck's not cohered into little vortices of spinning elements, physical matter. It's different. Anyway. Where do I want to go with this today? Do I want to launch into a spirited monologue about describing the nature of divine autonomy? Divine autonomy, I love this concept because it is speaking to your own sovereignty over your divinely individuated center of spin. So you have on the one hand this system of a single spin, and out of this single spin comes an untold infinite number of individuated spins, all of them attracting to themselves what they choose to focus upon, what they like, what they want, their desires. And there's this spirit behind it that is following your desire, looking at your desire, looking at your love, looking at what you love. That's what your inner being is doing. Your inner being is love, and it is vibrational, and it is looking at what you love. It also knows all things. It knows what is going on in physicality anywhere, because it has encoded within the field all around us, is encoded the whole information it's reflecting. It's a reflection. It's fractal reflections of integral wholenesses. Black holes. Black, W-H-O-L-E-S. Black, H-O-L-E-S. They're little integers of fractal wholeness reflecting across a holographic plane. How's that for a sentence? I've never said that one before. That's what the system is. And so what you are getting back, even in the sum total of your whole experience, what you are thinking of as the whole world and your whole life, but you're seeing it linearly, just a little piece at a time. If you'd pull the whole thing together, stack it all up and look at it vertically so that you see it all at once, you go, oh, I see what I am, and how that clicks into this bigger picture that everybody has a little piece that's clicking into this. You know, this universe is so cool, and the amount of good ideas that we could have about the fun we could have on planet Earth as we clean it all up, you know, clean air, clean water, efficiently running systems, lots of fun and food, and for all. Abundance for all. There is enough. This universe is... Think about what it's fundamentally made of, and how we could bring the abundance back. You could focus on the outside and notice how many millions and billions of times human beings behave in rotten ways because they don't understand, and how they are crushing and stomping upon the beautiful, blessed, sacred web of life all around us. You could do that. You could do it all day long. You could do it for a century or two and never run out of material about how wicked and terrible and awful we have been. That is true. And I wouldn't argue with any of it. I wouldn't push back against any of it, because that's all true. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because all you have to do is recognize fundamentally how the system is designed, and recognize immediately what it will take to fix it, and that is just focus on abundance, because we actually live in a universe of incredible, incredible abundance. And the only reason that it doesn't look like that is because our abundance has been turned into an absolute, crushing, unending, infinite, unstoppable abundance of lack. You know, we just can't even stop ourselves from imagining a finite pie, and then imagining all of ourselves squabbling over a finite pie, and then we're reimagining that every second, and that's what we keep recreating. But it isn't really true. We do not live in a finite pie, and there is plenty for every one of us. The only reason why we think that there isn't is because if you took exactly the way that we live right this exact moment and multiply, first world standards across all of the people on the planet, first of all, you realize that that's not possible. It's not possible for everybody. The way we live right now, it's not possible for all the human beings on the planet to live in that way and for the planet to stay living, right? So that's not true, sir. You're thinking, well, it's way unfair already. I can tell that, and it's not sustainable. And then if you think, and if we take just what we're doing right now with the first world and third world and the way we're consuming fossil fuels and the way we are poisoning the planet, and where do we put our nuclear stuff that isn't going to get not toxic for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. I don't even know what the half-life is of some of the things we have created. I don't know. So if you look at it from all of that direction, yeah. However, if you look at it from the point of view of what the field is made of and what is driving it to flux and form. So I did say that you are two beings, and there's so many different ways that you can look at those two beings. And then who you really are kind of sits in the very, very center of all of those binary descriptions of yourself. And from that position, you look at the whole thing, and man, I'm telling you, the universe is a really cool place from this vantage point. There is nothing that we cannot imagine into being because of what we are made of and how it is driven. And we could actually just quit imagining the places where we do not make it, because there is plenty of possibility that direction. What you should do instead is imagine all of the ways that we could make it and get busy being a being that naturally inhabits that world. I do want to be a part of the universe that makes it to the other side. And from my point of view at this moment, a necessary factor to this is non-resistant thought. And so that's what this forum of Who Am I is really about. Whatever I'm doing it in non-resistance. I am not thinking in terms of, well, we can't do it because, the last time I counted how many people voted last election, how many people do you think are going to vote this election? And so we're headed down the tubes, and so blah, 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 blah. Actually, we are evolving. Human beings do learn. We do understand. We are getting it. Even unto as a wholeness, at some point we will get it. As it becomes clearer and clearer what our actual design really is. And then you can take it from there, Your fundamental design is form and formless. You are the formless coming into form. And that's who you really are. And if you would identify that way, you would be less freaked out about the other truth of your existence, which is you actually are in a physical body. And the physical body is made of meat. And that meat is food for other creatures on the planet. Now, we've kind of gotten a little bit past that. We've stomped on most of the predators on the planet in such a way that human beings don't really get eaten that often. And when they do, we are so morbidly freaked out about it. And then we put it out probably on the Associated Press, and everybody across the world knows that somebody just got eaten by a shark or eaten by a bear or eaten by, whatever. And then we go in and we punish that creature, whatever it was. We catch them, we brutally, murder them. Because we're allowed to kill them, but they're not allowed to kill us. So interesting. And I don't really blame us for feeling that way. I mean, I have grandchildren. I don't want any of them to be eaten by bears or sharks. But when we lived in Africa, we did live in Africa for 2 years. And I noticed how many more natural dangers in the natural world that there were that you had to watch out for. Cobras and killer bees, swarms of bees and army ants, and not to mention, getting any far distance away from your car if you were out in nature, because there's lions out there, But how cool it was that it didn't take away from it added to the savor of life. We are too safe and too disconnected from the natural physical world around us by our safety. But there's reason for everything. Part of it is my ability to be safe enough to, in this non-resistant space, I come into my office every morning and I can safely fantasize about. There's a faux pas. I don't mean to say fantasize, but fantasy and imaginary, the act of imagining, is not so far removed from reality after all, because what you're getting with your imagination is a download from your higher self. And when you start putting it out there and putting it together and connecting it and thinking about it and having your conscious mind thinking about it rationally, then all of a sudden that which you imagined comes into a kind of reality. It's really cool. The universe of your mind is not the hellscape that most of us have experienced. It when you untangle it, it is not nearly as scary as it used to be. At least not for me. I am two minds, and this is the explanation of my negative mind. Because when my conscious mind takes small thoughts, the frequency, the resonant discord between that thought I just took and what my inner being knows to be true about the situation is just too great. That discord is what is the feeling, the sensation I get that I call negative emotion. That's the meaning of my negative emotions. It means that there is a poison aspect to your negative emotions. Don't take them literally as a good, clear read on the meaning of the universe. There is a flaw in the picture. You've got to transmute it first. There's good information there, but the feeling is off. Interesting. So interesting. Spirits, feelings, frequencies, emotions, minds, dual minds. What does it all mean? I am the formless, coming into the form. And the form is all made of planks. And our understanding of this source energy, this 0 point energy field, that all matter is coming into virtual reality. Virtual particles are coming into being and then winking in and out. But with momentum, there is a continuity of experience that appears in the field that we call matter, that we experience as beings within it, as matter and experience flowing past. But it's all riding on a desire. I find the concept of desire rather interesting, because from some perspectives it would appear that desire is the root of all evil. That's how come in Lucifer, the devil, who's Lucifer, gets to the root of who you are when he looks into your eyes in that, demonic kind of way and asks you what your desire is, where are you coming from. And if you come back, I want to rule the world and screw my brother's wife and own all the money and whatever, then he sees the heart of you. But if the person's desire comes back something like, I only want to see my little girl be happy, or whatever, then he's like, oh, you really are genuine. Or it's how are your desires aligned? Because the impulse of your desire to begin with is coming from source energy. How is your physical mind translating it into, because your true desires are pure, and I don't care how bad you are, your true Or I could say your pure desires are pure. But then that doesn't really mean anything, does it? What it is that the heart of all of your desires is the desire to feel better, to feel good. And the things that you imagine you want are all the objects that you have imagined it would take for you, if you had that object or that experience or that relationship or that whatever it is that you have translated what your physical mind is saying that I want, it's because you believe that you will feel better if you have it. That's the only reason that you want it. It's the feeling that you're looking for. It's not the object. You only want the object because you think the object's going to give you the feeling that you want, the feeling of freedom, the feeling of security, the feeling of connectedness or any of that. You want the feeling of that. And so you want the fast car or the compound, either in Malibu because you want status and you want to, puff up around local celebrities, or the compound in Idaho because you're paranoid of the rest of the world, and you stock up the arsenals and fill the bunkers with canned goods, and what is it? What or do you want excuse me, do you want that designer dress, or do you want Botox, or because you're starting to feel old and you want to feel young again? Well, I'll tell you the things that you want. You want freedom. And all of these are things you want to feel. You want the physical manifestation of them, but you want to feel them. You want to feel free. You want to feel abundant. You want to feel, what are all the general things? You want abundance, joy, fun, clarity, relationship, connection. I don't know. Those are the things you want. Now, us and our physical minds, we have translated them into things. And now, in the physical world of mankind, the one that we have created with all of the jobs and the internet and the communications and the agriculture and all the human scape, in all of that, how do you translate the feeling? What do you want? Well, from my point of view, what I've started doing is I don't go to the specific. I stay in the feeling. Abraham has pointed out the fact that you actually do not need to have... We think that we need to determine what it needs to be physically in order for us to feel good, then make it that way physically, and then focus on it, and then now we're focusing on that which we like, and now we'll feel good. That is the opposite way to go around. It ends up being kind of like that, but not that. The process is wrong. That's the wrong process. What you do is you go find the feeling that you want to feel, because you can feel that. You are free. We are free. We are safe. We are connected. When you realize that at a fundamental level, all those things are true, I don't have to, okay, I feel that way. Now, instead of this yearning to feel those feelings, you feel those feelings, and from a place of feeling those feelings, now really good ideas start coming to you, because now you have clicked into your binary self. You have clicked into your source energy aspect. You are your whole self now. I think this is something that every single human being on the planet can do. We are designed to do this, to be overmind as well as specific mind. We are amazing, amazing creatures. And if we would focus upon this really cool nature of who we really are. And then from that vantage point, turn back each in our individual lives, turn back to our own, whatever's on your plate. And now deal with it in a little bit different way, because you no longer take your negative emotions at face value. You never really believe it when part of you says, I hate my neighbor. Part of me sometimes I go, yeah, okay, part of me does hate my neighbor. But you know what? I now know that there is a part of myself that does not hate my neighbor that I can never escape from. I am chained forever to this vibrational aspect of me that loves the whole world, because the whole world is myself. And it's all a great big mirror, and I'm just looking at myself. And if you want the world to be a better place, then you have to be the one that it starts with you. I heard the most beautiful analogy of this mirror universe that we inhabit. And when you look out on the world, it's like a mirror. So you're looking at this mirror. Okay, now the analogy is a mirror. You're looking in the mirror, and the face that you're looking at is frowning. And you want to make the face in the mirror smile. And you're trying to force the mirror, from the outside, trying to get the face in the mirror to smile. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to smile. And then what reflects back to you is a smile. When you are dark and grim and notice in detail all the threats around you in the labyrinth that surrounds you, yes, you are in a labyrinth. You are in a labyrinth that is, on the one hand, filled with monsters. I'm telling you, I studied Nazis and other atrocities. The depths that a human being out of alignment with their true nature, the things that they will do when disconnected from their source, is monstrous and bone-chilling. We need to be connected to our source, or we cannot be trusted. And what does this mean? This connection between your heart and your brain. Your heart being connected to your physical brain consciousness. The way you are evaluating the world, you should never, ever be evaluating the world in negative terms. The world is a magnificent place, and all is well, and all is wonderful. So what's the freaking problem? We don't know who we are. Or at least that's my thesis statement. My thesis statement is all forms of suffering stem from us not knowing who we are. And frankly, even though I stake my flag on this ground, I stake my intellectual flag on this ground, I fully understand that I'm not the first person to have thought of this. As a matter of fact, this is the perfect place. Instead of at the end of the show, this is the perfect place for me to bring in the 5 kleshas. These are, from Buddhist philosophy, thought to be the root causes of all suffering. It's all coming from us not knowing what we're looking at. Not knowing who we are within the picture. Not being able to talk about it in practical terms, not being able to think about it in matter-of-fact ways. We're all taught differently. Our cosmology, each and every one of us is taught a different cosmology, and then taught to be really secretive and personal and private. Shh, don't talk about religion. Don't what anybody believes about, reality, God and the spirits and all that. It's, all personal, and it is. It is, because of this divine autonomy thing. The fact that each and every one of us, and especially if you understand the powerful and divine nature of you manning the center of your own center, what kind of safety and security, it's almost like when you get into the center of your center and you lock your 2 binary spinning vortices of attraction, your physical mind and here real quickly, I'm going to this picture, your physical mind and your source mind, that is represented to me by this picture, right? I know it's not the best picture. Someday somebody with really good tech knowledge is going to help me with a bunch more visuals on this one. When they get what I'm saying, they're going to go, oh, this is really cool. Let's give her some more visual aids so that we can really show people what she's saying, because this is cool. If your two minds, imagine them both as spinning discs. Well, Abraham calls them discs. I don't know if they're discs. They are spinning. Are they vortices of like tornadoes it all depends on what plane you're looking at the picture as to whether it's a disc or a funnel cloud, or I don't know. But you get these two lined up center to center, and that to me, that's manning your center. That means you have taken your conscious mind and you have made sure that it is only thinking about what makes sense. Don't believe anything that does not make sense to you. I didn't get to where I am right here in this moment, the way I'm putting all this together. I didn't get to this place without it making sense to me. I wouldn't want you to do anything less. Now, you may not be ready to jump to the conclusions I've jumped to, because there's gaps in some of the places that I have filled that you have not. So it doesn't make sense to you at this point. If it doesn't make sense, don't believe it. Do not believe it. Don't use your faith muscle to bridge sensibility. That's not where you use your faith muscle. Use your faith muscle on a spirit. The faith muscle is used in this sense. Know that all is well. All is well. If you don't understand it intellectually, just understand that it can be understood intellectual, so just keep going. And that everything is all right. Whatever the universe turns out to be, it's all right. We've all been doing it for a very long time. We're all doing it together. It must be all right. That was basically my only religion for many, 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 many years of my life. I had no sense of what cosmology, how it coalesced in any way, what happened after we die, or what's even happening now. I really didn't know. I just sensed that it was all right. Whatever it is, it's all right. It must be all right. I just need to figure it out. It's all right. I've said that too much, but that's where you put your faith muscle. Don't put it on logic. Don't believe with your physical mind logic things that don't make any sense to you based on faith. I saw people using their faith muscle within the structure of religions, and it didn't agree with me very well when I was younger, and it still doesn't agree with me. But when I got to the end of it, and I realized what the actual picture was and how it related to the religions everybody's looking at, and I realized that there actually is tremendous value in just the relaxing, the trust, knowing that there is a larger pattern around you, that you are part of a bigger flow, and that ultimately, at the ground root of all things, you are safe and all is well. I also believe that there is a profound connection to concepts like love and concepts like gravity. That somewhere at the base root of reality, these concepts connect to one another. And that's going to be very interesting as we start traversing the multiverse. Because honestly, when you realize how we are truly designed, the possibilities of traveling around the near galaxy it's way beyond that. We're going to be able to travel the multiverse. But you got to give up on the idea of traversing it laterally across the great distances and taking full physicality with you, burning some sort of fuel as you do it, because that's not the way it's going to happen. The distances are so vast, it ought already to have discouraged us. It ought already to have discouraged us. That's what the meaning of it's so vast a distance that you should just give it up right there. It's like, well, that's not the way to go. You can't go that way. There must be another way. Instead, what we've been doing is, well, we can go some way, so that must be the way you're going. Instead of, well, I know we're going some way, and that's ridiculous to think we're going that way, so we're not going that way, but there must be an answer, so what's the answer? We're not doing that. We're not in faith going, well, we can't go that way, but there is an answer, so what is it? It's a different way. Did anybody follow that? I don't know. I barely followed that myself, and I couldn't repeat it today. But we'll see what happens tomorrow as I keep discussing this topic so dear to my heart. Who am I? Who am I? Why am I here? How did I get here? Am I indeed a created species? Now, of course, I do. So I believe in do I really want to say that? I was going to talk about God and gods, and what are the gods, and because I think we got it kind of mixed up in our creation stories, because we have more than one story going on. Evolution is a story. It's a real story. It's a true story too, actually. Things are evolving. There is incremental evolution, and there's not more than beyond incremental evolution going on. But something happened to us that's a little bit different. I think that a sentient species from somewhere else, they would have had to have been from somewhere else, genetically modified a naturally occurring species, a naturally evolving species upon planet Earth, and bumped them up a notch. And that's who we are. And that's how come we're sort of like a fine-tuned racing car. Like a twin carburetor, Lotus engine, race car that has to be very finely tuned, or it doesn't run very well. It goes and doesn't move efficiently, doesn't work with the road around it very well unless it's finely tuned. But when finely tuned, this machinery that we possess, this emotional capability to sense the entire universe, read that read, and then proceed accordingly. Now, when you understand that you're a binary system and your ground state is always positive, then you give up the futile effort to keep going negative. Just give it up. Quit going negative. I don't care how monstrous your neighbor is. Love him anyway, because he is you. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. That is Khalil Gibran. I read it in a book I had. I thought it was The Prophet, but it wasn't. It's some other book that I had. It might have even just been quotations by Khalil Gibran. Might have been that. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And that comes from the fact that we are a single morphogenetic field upon the planet. We're a number of morphogenetic fields. The whole biofield is a single morphogenetic field. All of the biosphere, the biology of the planet. And then you as a human being are part of the human species, which is another morphogenetic field. It's a data stream of information connected to itself. And so your behavior Whatever your behavior is, you think it's all your own. And from a divinely autonomous way, you are correct about that in the sense that it is your center to do with what you will. And if you would get into the center of it and line your two selves up properly, there is almost nothing that could stand in your way. Now, if your planet goes kibbutz because your local sun goes nova, there's nothing really that you can do about it as a physical being on the planet. You're going with it. But if you man the center of your center of your center of your center in a trusting, source-connected, holding on to yourself kind of way as it goes, I'm sure that you can hold on to yourself. The continuum of the information that is you moving through time and space. You know, you're a project. The fill in your name project. The Robert project or the Cynthia project or, you know. The Tamika project, the Moodit project. So, where do I take this from here? My thesis statements always include this idea, not only the meaning of our positive and negative emotions brought about by our binary system of minds, our two vibrational minds, one connected to our pure vibrational self, and then the other one connected to your physical mind, these two minds. That unfolds the meaning of your emotions. Let's see. I have mentioned today that I believe that we're genetically modified. I guess I'm going to mention that again. This is here's your basic mind setup. And as you evolved, you added these layers to your consciousness, these layers to your brain. Now the neocortex is sort of this overbrain that's kind of looking at all of it and can see through and beyond all of it as well as with all of it, right? Well, the neocortex comes from, or 76% of the volume of it is produced by human chromosome number 2, which is a fused chromosome. It looks to me like it was genetically twiddled with. Fused telomere to telomere with redundancies on both sides of the fusion point clipped away to stabilize the fusion, and then the result is our neocortex and the human mind, the human physical overview aspect of our human mind, that mind that makes us human. And look what these people say. This is just the article published by the geneticists who noticed this configuration, and they're not saying anything about who may or may not have done it. They're not even saying that they conclude that it was artificially done. They're just saying that this is what it is. It's fused. This is a fused chromosome, and before it was fused, these were ape chromosomes. And now that it's fused, it's producing this bigger chromosome that isn't ape anymore, it's human. Look at the full abstract. I like this. Look, we conclude that blah 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 blah, this whole thing they've been discussing, is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. And it gives us our emotions, our complex human emotions, because our human emotions are produced by a blending of these two minds. And this little one on the right, that's your neocortex, basically. That's your human mind, your physical mind. It's actually your vibrational. Both of these minds are vibrational, but one is the mind of your physical being, and the other one is the mind of your vibrational overview. The one that is the whole universe, the one that is connected to all physicality, everywhere. And how is it connected? This brings us to the part of the presentation where I'm talking about the mathematics of a unified universe. It has been unified. Now, it didn't get unified the way that conventional physicists wanted it to be. And so the Sheldon Coopers of this world and the ones in the laboratories at MIT, in bed with big business, trying to do practical things in a practical world, build technologies based on what we know, the physics of what we know, and the mathematics of this and that, and blah blah blah. They're not really pleased about what the unification actually means, because at the center of the unification is consciousness itself. Now, the very smartest of the founding fathers of physics have all known this. That's how come, the David Bohms and the John Wheelers and stuff, they recognize that the universe is mental. And the scapes that we are traversing are in consciousness. There is a kind of a physicality that we seem to be sharing. There is these vortices of Planck's spinning, and all of us connected to the information of all of it, and so that's what's common. But the way that this is being experienced, consciousness to consciousness, species to species for sure, but even within the same species, the way things are being experienced is so way different. And the potential for experience is also way bigger. I've come up with this new one in the last couple of days. It has to do with the idea that every possibility actually is out there. Every possibility is in template form out there, and you can follow it if you want. You can experience any version of the world that you want. You can experience the one where we make it. You can experience the one where we don't. You can experience the one where we annihilate ourselves, and you can experience the one where we get smart and we overcome our current ecological difficulties that we're having with the planet. That's really the only serious problem we got going on right now, is our ecological struggles with the planet around us. I am not happy with the death and destruction that we wreak upon the fellow beings of our planet, both human and non-human. Some people are more concerned about war. Some people are more concerned about starving human children. Others are more concerned about, the deaths of non-human animals. Others are more concerned about the plight of non-human pet animals to humans, like cats and dogs and stuff like that. Everybody's got their own thing that zaps their, that offends them, if you will. We're all right. All of those things should be offensive to all of us, because all of them are an indication to us that we are not in alignment with ourselves or the biosphere around us. And that really isn't acceptable. Life doesn't like that. Life wants alignment, and life is seeking alignment. How is it doing that? Oh, what am I picking up on the ground? Okay. Let's pause for just a moment to regroup. It's not the easiest thing to sit in a room by yourself and talk about big things in a non-resistant manner for, what amounts to hours on end. Actually, not really hours on end. An hour and about 45 minutes is really perhaps my target. I know that 2 hours is my upper limit. I don't know how much my audience is enjoying my episodes. When I get to the hour and 50 minute and I get ready to sign off, are they sorry? I'm actually thrilled to see that I have an audience. It may be an audience of one, I'm not really sure who my audience is, but I am very gratified that somebody is listening to me. I'm excited about my project, the Who Am I project. I think human beings in general need to ponder this question more and quit assuming that we know what the answer is, especially when we assume it and then go jack off in negative ways. We really need to stop doing this. It could all be so much easier than we are making it to be. The resistance is the problem. There is a flow that if we would stop resisting it, it would just take us where we want to go. To peace on earth, goodwill towards men, to loving kindness, to cooperative co-creativity across the board, across the planet. We are full of good ideas. Our fears, our negative mind is what's stopping us. And I also realize that all of these things I'm saying are not news. There's not one thing I'm saying in and of itself that is news. It's just the way perhaps I can contribute to putting it all together, the way I have added it up and then put it forth in a thesis statement. Hey, who am I? Who am I in reference to source energy, and how does that get me off fossil fuels? And how does getting me off fossil fuels and plugging us all into source energy, how does that get us collectively as humanity up-leveled to the next iteration of our being, where we are no longer quarreling and squabbling over artificial lack, artificial scarcity that we have created ourselves so that we can experience this, so that we can know ourselves to be the abundance that we really are. The abundance of Plancks is what we are. You are the desire coming into being. And if you focus on that which you desire and focus on where the point of convergence is, where does my desire meet your desire? Well, we all desire certain things. That fundamental hierarchy of needs, the 7 needs, air, water, sleep, food, shelter, relationship, and expression. Those are the 7 needs, and they listed in the order of which, if you do not get them, they will kill you, either quickly or slowly. The lack of expression will kill you. It will cause your energy levels to dwindle until you no longer really have access to much source energy, and then you just, curl up and die. But that's all right, because your energy moves on and your consciousness keeps going. The you that you were, the mind's eye that you are, doesn't go away. Your physical eyes close and don't ever open up again, but your mind's eye doesn't. That is still there. So, where do we go with this? Yeah, knowing ourselves as source energy is going to get us off of fossil fuels, and how that's going to get us back to a world of more natural abundance. It's going to be way more easy for us to feed ourselves and to create food in abundance for all the creatures of the planet. One thing I don't really like, I realize that the human agricultural system is producing food, but because of our scarcity paradigm, we have to hog it all to ourselves. We have to protect every bit of it, from the squirrels, from the gophers, from the deer, from the whatever. But at some point in our abundance levels, as we recognize who and what we are and start operating this system we're in correctly, we're going to be able to help produce enough food for an abundance of living creatures that we haven't. Oh, humanity hasn't even begun to imagine where we are going. But I want us to start imagining this, because if we can start imagining it into being, it will come into reality. Maybe that's the whole point of the Who Am I project. I had a vision of something, and I wondered what this vision was. Is this a novel? Because actually I have a wonderful idea for a novel. I know who the character is. I know what the plot of the story is. I know how it relates to reality. And but is it a novel for me? Is it a download for a novel for me to write? Or is this a vision of our actual future? Ooh, how exciting. I don't know. The Who Am I project, to me, is helping me understand what all of these imaginal downloads I've been getting into my mind, what they have been all about. So, where do I go from here? I've talked about... I haven't really talked about everything. I claim that our better understanding of source energy is going to help us get off fossil fuels. The mathematics of it is going to get us to the technology that we will need to stop using fossil fuels forevermore. Leave it in the ground. It's dirty, it's horrible, and it's creating the paradigm, the human paradigm, that we are experiencing right now. Now, some of it we like. I like some of it, but there's better ways to do some of the things that I like. One of the things I like is I like world travel. I like zipping around the planet, going to places that I don't live, and experiencing swaths of life. I enjoy doing that. Get on an airplane and go fly somewhere and go do stuff with, whatever. I don't actually think that way of doing things is sustainable. We're not going to be doing it by airplanes for much longer. And God, thank heavens we do not need to. There will be different kind of craft. I don't know what they will be, but I know that there are better ways to get us there than running on jet fuel and pulling into airports and stuff, although there's something really cool about the identity, controlling the access point of the entry into the nation helps solidify the identity of the ethnic identity of the nation in question. That's an interesting thought. I don't know if anybody followed that. I'm feeling myself going into really esoteric parts of my mind. And that will be interesting for other days, and probably particularly useful if I have someone else in the room with me that can help keep me grounded as I go into esoteric places. I want to make sure that this conversation today and always stays relevant to a human life. Who am I, and how does how I fill in the answer to that in any given moment, how does it affect my energy flow, the direction I am flowing, whether I am moving now in the direction of what I want or the opposite direction of what I want, and how fast am I moving there? This brings me to this slide. I like this idea. Where is it? the four general states of being. This is your brakes and your accelerator on your starship, your light machine, your consciousness, your beam of consciousness moving through what appears to be space-time. Your state of being is telling you which direction you're going and how fast you are going. If you're going in a negative direction, then you're going 180 degrees in the opposite direction of what you actually want to go. Although you may want to go slightly in a slight negative direction for a moment for clarity. You just don't want to go wholehearted, head first, full speed, specific negative, and keep going that way, imagining that that's real or good. Don't do that. Understand that there is value in the negative, but understand what the value is, and that this value is not actually enhanced by you continuing to go headlong in the wrong direction. You can get the message immediately and then turn back in the positive direction. You can. We can. So what do I mean by this being your brakes and your accelerator? Anytime you go specific with your mind, you are accelerating in the field. If you are in a negative state of mind while you do it, then you are accelerating in the wrong direction. If you're in a positive state of mind, you are accelerating in the right direction. What do I mean by right direction? By right direction, what do I mean by that? I mean by the direction of what you personally desire, along with what you really want to do. In any case, hold on just a moment. I'm going to regroup again because, like I said, it's not the easiest thing to talk to yourself for hours on end. It takes a lot of focus and concentration to keep yourself from drifting, especially when you're looking at a picture as largely spread out as the one that I'm trying to look at. I'm sort of trying to add in what is true about the law of attraction. I'm not interested in what's not true about any of this stuff, but I'm looking for what's true about everything. Because there is something true about everything, because if you saw it, if you experienced it, if you know it, it's got to add into your picture. There's something true about it. And so what's true? What's true about law of attraction? What is true about unified physics? What's true about the quantum field? What's true about my positive and negative emotions, my inner being, what's true about all this? And how does it add up? And when I add it up, how does that equal a paradigm of unprecedented abundance for humankind on planet Earth? That's where I'm headed. And anybody who wants to go with me, they are so welcome. I cannot do it by myself. I have to do it with everybody else. And so let's do it. Let's get there. Let's get to a place where we are peace on earth, goodwill towards men, where we're actively involved, every one of us, all the time, doing all the things we want to do. Grow and cook beautiful, delicious food. Visit one another across the planet. Communicate with one another freely and efficiently, without censure, without restriction, without resistance, without so many of those things I just said. I could feel the resistant opposite, like somebody hearing with their ears and going, nah, that doesn't sound right to me. You can't trust people with full open information. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's what the universe is doing already. Universal consciousness is distributing all information. There is nothing secret in the universe. And so all of our passwords are going down at some point, because there is no way to really hide everything forever. You can't, because this holographic universe is sharing all the information. Now, we can stay a little step ahead of our ability to decrypt things, but we ultimately, you can't keep any information from coming out, because the universe is holographic and all of the information is everywhere. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? Who am I? I suppose the moral to this story is, take your negative emotions with a grain of salt. Know that you are a relentlessly positive being at the fundamental core of yourself. You are safe, you are abundant, you are secure, you are eternal. And now, having said that, I myself have to go do the same thing you have to go do. I have to go live my life. I have to go make choices. I have to go try to stay positive. I have to go try to transmute the negative. I have to go deal with probably a nation that's going to be losing its mind. Now, I have not been looking at the news for the last 6 years. The only thing that's been getting to me has been truly historic events I have been kind of tapping into. But as far as current events goes, what's going on specifically within humanity right now, I haven't been paying a lot of close attention. It seems to me we're still using fossil fuels, so my message has not been absorbed yet. We have not plugged our technology directly into source energy. Okay, so I'm still relevant. I think that we have a really interesting election coming up. I have not been politically keeping up to speed or registering my choices recently. Largely because I was very politically active and I was part of one of the political parties, but I felt at some point that even they were losing their minds. They seemed to be the reasonable party until they aren't. And it comes down to this discussion I'm having here. Because ultimately, if you're looking at how reality really is and what would really fix the problems that mankind faces, enable us to stop committing the 6th mass extinction upon planet Earth and start to rebuild the biosphere and allow planet Earth to heal from the wounds that we have given her through our use of slash and burn agriculture and burning of fossil fuels. So that's still going on. So that has not been fixed. To me, I find that relevant. I still see wars going on, so we haven't figured that one out. I think the wars are actually us squabbling for finite, what we imagine to be finite resources, which aren't. We can go off each one to ourselves and create an abundance, a personal abundance for ourselves and others, without having to ask anybody's, without having to monetize in the field, without having to capitalize, without having to do much of anything, as soon as we can plug into source energy, because now I can go off the grid, with all of the energy that I need to agriculture my own little stretch of ground. And with my newfound understanding of how the web supports itself and each other, I can co-create with the field around me. And as I do that, I create this enormous biological abundance that allows me to feed my family And not only my family, but starting to be the ecosystem around me. And boom, next thing you know, planet Earth is back. That's where I'm going. Where are you going? There is a place where all of our desires meet, where they all converge into a single desire that we all have for all of us. This desire to know ourselves, because when you look into the eyes of that creature, when you look into the eyes of someone else, you are looking into the eyes of yourself. There is only one of us here. There is only one of us here. And that's how come there is no us and them, and that's how come the us and them paradigm will never get us to the answer we think we're looking for. I don't care how right you are about that particular group being the ones acting up in this moment. There is still no us and them. That is the heart of my message, the very, very heart of my message. I believe it was also the heart of Jesus's message. There is no us and them. It is all us. It is all us. It is all up to us. And actually that's okay, because we are up to the task. We are the coolest creatures ever. Someone designed us to be cool. We are driving the Ferraris of the universe. Only it's even better than that. The starships of the universe. The starships of consciousness. You are driving your own starship, so get in there and be your own Captain Kirk. You are master of your ship and captain of your soul. Man up. Line your two beings up. Line your two minds up. And be all that you can be. Anyway, yada, yada, yada. Until tomorrow when I hope you come back and see me again, I am looking forward to hearing what you have to say to me. Until then, I bid you peace, and may the source be with you.